What's up guys, it's Timbro here. Today we're jumping into Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 with what I honestly think is the best Male Saiyan Super Saiyan Blue Evolution build in the game. If you've been looking for a build that feels unstoppable and is formidable against any opponent in PvP, this is the one that you need. We're going over everything: the stats, QQ Bang, Super Soul skills, transformation, the combos or hidden tech that makes this Male Saiyan build completely broken. By the end of the video, you're gonna have a character that feels fast, powerful, and straight up invincible in Super Saiyan Blue Evolution. So if you're hyped for the build, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and without further ado, let's get right into it. Now for what you guys have been anticipating, which is the build. First, let's go over the attribute points, which to me complement it and I think makes this the best Male Saiyan build in Xenoverse 2. And for the attribute points, 183 health, 114 stamina, 120 basic, and 140 strike supers. And to explain as for why I have these attributes. As for the 183 health, I think anything more than this or anything below is kind of bad. I think this is the perfect medium of health. A lot of you are asking, why couldn't you just put 200 if it's just 20 attributes away? Well, here's the thing. To me, it's all about what's relative. Why would I waste 20 points of attributes on something that provides a minuscule difference? Let me showcase the differences between the health bars of a 183 health build versus a 200 health build. And if you see it on the screen, it is almost little to no difference. It is very minuscule. And the reason why you should want to have this much health in the game is because the one with the most health usually has an advantage and can stay in the fight longer, being able to withstand more damage in the long run. It's better to have a blue bar of health versus me being lower and just having a dark green bar of health. It's these small things that make a build what it is. And for the 114 stamina, the reason why I have it this way is because ever since the level cap has reached 180, the needed amount of stamina to reach its maximum is less when it comes to dumping it in your attribute points. If you have a +5 stamina QQ Bang, if you put it in 114 in stamina, it gives you the max stamina in a game, which is 15 bars of stamina, a secret not many know about. And as for basic, it is complementary of the most important thing in the game, which is 1-to-1 combat, or in layman terms is the hands. If you have hands, it doesn't matter what type of build you have, you can't win. Without understanding how to fight, the build is only ever going to get you so far if you know how to fight. So putting it in basic is essential. And as for strike, this to me is equal to basic. In a sense, it's almost or if not more important than basic, because if you really pay attention, the skills that do the most damage in the game are strike skills. They do the most absurd damage, and to not invest it into your build, to me, is a missed opportunity that you, my guy, need to capitalize on. Now for my height and weight. My height is the max and my weight is the max. These are the stats of each height. Although you could go for smaller heights, like how I said, when it comes to all in this game, it's all about who touches who first. Whoever has the advantage when it comes to pursuing the fight and capitalizing on certain situations is the one who's gonna win. So although each height decreases in speed the further you go, the upside to the max height is that you have more range and also more priority, which in this showcase, you don't need an absurd amount of speed in the beginning since you have the transformation to give you the speed, which is Evo. So again, the max height will and always will be, for me, and experienced players know this, the best. And as for max height, since we are going to throw hands with the Saiyan, we need more damage with our hands and basic attack. So the more you increase in weight, the more damage you do in basic. The more you decrease in weight, the less damage you do in basic, but the more damage you do in Ki Blast. You could realistically do the first way to do Ki Blast damage, but since we already do a tremendous amount of damage with not only our level, but also our transformation, Ki Blast damage is a given, so I don't think it's realistically needed. Now for the build, I'll show you my Super Soul and QQ Bang. My Super Soul is our strengths aren't just added together. What it does, it gives an auto ki recovery mode so that we can not only get our ki faster to get the transformation, but also stay and maintain our transformation for a longer duration of time. And the small stamina recovery is very important, and I'll explain that at the end of the video, so just keep watching and soak up the knowledge that I'm giving on to you. And now to transition into the next part of the build, which is the skills. And as for the skills I have, it's Gamma Blaster, Handy Cannon, Soaring Fist, Savage Strike, and for the ultimates I have Justice Combination, Remote Serious Bomb. The evasive, of course, is Instant Rise. This is a very powerful build, but me explaining this in just words is ineffective, and it would be even more effective if I show it to you in the lab. So without further ado, let me transition into the part of the video all of you guys have been waiting for. Now, not to waste any of you guys' time, let's get into the breakdown of each of the skills on this build and why I have them on. Now, to explain the first skill in this video, it is none other than Savage Strike. The reason for this skill is that if you fail a combo, or if you are too far away to string a combo and continue it, you are basically able to extend the combo you were previously trying to execute. And this skill is basically one of, or if not the most viable skill on this preset, except one other that I'm going to mention later in this video. To me, this is the second most overpowered skill on this preset. I'm going to be explaining the reason why I hit all three of these skills or methods, that of which being is XY, Soaring Fist, and Gamma Blaster. I'm going to explain XY and Soaring Fist first, and then in a later section I'm going to explain Gamma Blaster, but because it's way more of a complicated or convoluted matter, I thought it deserved a section of its own explaining why those skills work so beautifully and complementary together. Now, to waste no time, let's explain the methods of hitting it, that of which the first is to string it along with an XY, self-explanatory in itself. After you knock back with an XY, you could combo your knockaway with certain long-range moves, that of which we're talking about today is Savage Strike. This works really well if you tag them and you have momentum over them. You could bait stamina from someone after they instant rise. I use my own method to bait stamina. I use an XY guard cancel, slowly descend to pay attention of when they instant rise, and use the leaping or teleporting animation of Savage Strike in said scenario. Now let me demonstrate it in this clip. As you can see, it's pretty broken if you ask me, because what move in the game could track or teleport and punish somebody in said animation? This is a quirk uniquely exclusive to Savage Strike, but also a side tangent, not to disrupt the flow of the video. I know it's a side topic, but this could also work complementary of our example of what we showed. There is a moment that I want all of you to understand and what not to do when somebody is using Savage Strike against you. The thing I want all of you not to do if somebody is using Savage Strike against you, when they are in leaping animation of the move, do not Z-vanish the Savage Strike. Instead, just instant rise the move and sidestep it. Hopefully, you can learn not only from this example, but also the first way to hit it. Now, as for the second method of hitting it, is to use it after a Soaring Fist. There is many tech with it, but I'll explain it later in another section. But I will do that shortly, so just wait and see. Without further ado, let me demonstrate it in a short clip. There, that is the second method. This was a very short showcase, as you guys could see. All I wanted you guys to know for this part is how to combo them. Nothing more needs to be said in this section of the video. Now, to transition to the next part of understanding Savage Strikes is the many ways you can string the skill. Understanding the many scenarios, that of which being two scenarios matter of fact. An extension which are air and ground strings. And that of which the first being is how to string this long range in the air. Now, to explain the one in the air, if you are too far from the ground and you have no way of extending the combo, perhaps these methods of how to string your combo which serve as sufficient for you. Although they may not be as optimal if you were to Savage Strike near the ground, they would still serve as some sort of utility. To waste no time, let's get into the first one, and that being Gamma Blaster. Although I did say that this being in combination with one another would be in a separate section of the video, I thought it would be harmless lightly touching up upon it, not really discussing the intricate details before we elaborate further and give further specs. Without further ado, let me demonstrate it in this scenario. As you can see, I could use this in combination with Savage Strike. Although it is short and it doesn't continue the combo, there is a slight detail that I would like to impart onto you all. Even though it is going to stop the combo for a short duration of time, after you do a successful Savage Strike into a Gamma Blaster, you could continue the following Gamma Blaster with another Savage Strike. So consider this an air combo leading into a ground combo, a very effective way to properly string and connect your combinations when it comes to Savage Strike. And to waste no time, it is now time for the next one, which is Remote Serious Bomb, which I'm just going to call RSB for short. It is as simple as it sounds. After you do a Savage Strike in the air, you can follow up with it by using RSB. So when people are using Evo Evolved or any other transformation in the game, you can shut off their transformation, but also for a slight duration of time, you can string along the combo when they are stunned for that moment. Now that we are done with air strings or combos, let's get into the next section of how you can string along Savage Strike, that being the ground or ground string. The first being is that if you are close enough to the ground and you hit a Savage Strike, you can successfully dash in and continue your combo. Let me demonstrate. Not much needs to be said after demonstrating. If you understand combo mechanics in Xeno, it should be no struggle. If you guys want a detailed guide of how I play the game at a high level, just comment in the video #BetterXenoPlayer and I will put it in my list of videos to do in the future. Now as for the next one, is probably the most effective way to continue the combo is to string it along with Handy Cannon. Now as to demonstrate it. As you can see, you can connect it with Handy Cannon if you are close enough to the ground, maximizing the damage in the process. It is probably the most effective way to not only maximize your damage, but also use Handy Cannon and Savage Strike to its maximum capabilities. Now for the next one is none other than Soaring Fist. Let me waste no time in showing. As you can see, you can not only string Savage Strike into Soaring Fist, but you could also string a Soaring Fist into basic attack damage. And if you are creative, you could combo the Soaring Fist with the Handy Cannon. It's all about being creative with the way that you approach stringing and putting together your combinations in this game. Now that is it for air and ground strings. Now for me to explain the most exciting part of breaking down Savage Strike, which is the tech section of it. There are several techs to pull off with Savage Strike, but let me explain the first tech, which is to hit a Savage Strike after a Soaring Fist, that of which I'll use a clip of me demonstrating against a person I am sparring in the lab against. As you can see, when I pulled off Soaring Fist, my Savage Strike was able to track him and hit him after he incendiarized, effectively hitting him in the process, which to me, personally, is a very hidden mechanic that high competitive Xenoverse players know or gatekeep amongst the community. But I, as a man of the people, have shown you this tech, and I will not spare or keep this a secret to you. Now to transition to by the most broken part of understanding Savage Strike being is that after you do a Savage Strike into whatever it may be, let's say an XY, if they incendiarize and they unfortunately guard the move, they are able, by extension, quadruple tap somebody's guard and take several bars away from them, that of which is being demonstrated in this clip. So as you can see, this tech can work for anything that is a knockback. An XY like we showcase in any other move like Soaring Fist that effectively knocks them away and bait their evasive. So in conclusion, the fact that Savage Strike is able to do this is by far the most broken thing about the move. And as you can see, both of the techs are complementary of one another. Now that I am done with Savage Strike, let's transition into the next move to talk about, that of which is none other than Gamma Blaster. Reason why this is such an efficient move and it is so effective is that it is an offensive and defensive move. You could use this move in combination with other moves, but also in neutral, providing a variety of baits that is in conjunction with the skill. And to prove the point of why this is such an effective move, let me explain why this is effective and to showcase the many ways you could use this in combination. And let's waste no time and let's get into it. That of which the first being is a Gamma Blaster into an XY. Now, the next one is a Savage Strike into a Gamma Blaster. And lastly is a Gamma Blaster into a Soaring Fist. Basically, if you are creative and you understand where I am coming from with the skill, you basically understand that this move works and strings along with any type of knockback or skill that keeps them in place for a proper duration of time. Which, if you put this together, then you would also understand this as well too, that let's say hypothetically you hit them with a high damaging skill, you are able to bait people into instant rising or using their evasive, which in essence not only also lets them bait them and use their stamina, but also baits the evasive to do a Gamma Blaster. As you can see, me, after using a Soaring Fist, I predicted he was gonna feel pressured because of the health that was being taken away, and me understanding this pressure and me using mind games used a Gamma Blaster against him. And not only works with Soaring Fist, but a plethora of moves you could use it basically to bait anyone to use their evasive after a knockback. It's just up to you to predict their vanish patterns and to punish them after the fact. Now that we are done with the Gamma Blaster, let's transition into the next part of the video, that is to explain how that Savage Strike and Gamma Blaster work in parallel with one another and how you could use this for high level tech in the game. There are 3 situations of each tech that I would like to explain, that of which the first one being is the fact that after you hit them with the Gamma Blaster, you are able to punish them if you read that they are going to evasive right after the fact. As you can see, when I did a Gamma Blaster, I already pre-inputted the Savage Strike, so the teleporting animation was still in effect. And when this was in effect, my skill tracked and punished him after he used his evasive. Basically, this move is very powerful in the fact that it has so many components to it, that of which being is Savage Strike. And the second scenario I would like to explain to you guys, which is the most ideal situation you would want to use these skills in combination with one another, basically that being in the same scenario you predict that they are going to evasive, they do a mistake of blocking the Savage Strike after they teleport and track them in animation. As you can see, the Savage Strike was able to quadruple tap his guard and take roughly 3 bars of stamina. I've already shown this before, the fact that Savage Strike is able to do this, but this, by far, is the most broken way you could bait them to block after a Savage Strike. The final scenario that I would like to show you guys is a 50-50 scenario, with it being the same as the other tech that I've shown with this one. So let's say hypothetically, the Savage Strike misses and it doesn't hit them, it would look something like this. Even though I said this would happen and they would fall out, there is a small chance that you should be able to recover and continue the momentum that you have over them. So although it did fail, like how I said, this is a 50-50 exchange. Why this is 50-50 is because there is a small chance the Savage Strike didn't have enough time to either hit them through their evasive or chip away at their guard. So even if you fail at punishing them when they evasive or guard, you can still use this as an advantage. Although I like to say this is a luck-based thing, with this in particular, you can still use it effectively even if you fail, which is why these two combinations work so flawlessly together. Also, I do want to say something else. If you are enjoying these type of breakdowns and you like how methodically I explain the intricacies of this game, smash the like button, comment, and subscribe. This helps my videos reach the algorithm and have other people find videos like these that are informational. There is more content besides this in the future, so don't think this is just going to be a breakdown channel. There's much more to come. But to not waste your time on this, let me transition into the next segment. Now for the next part of the video, which if you heard earlier, I mentioned there is a move far more powerful than Savage Strike in terms of utility, that of which is none other than Handy Cannon. The reason why this is so effective is because it is not only a move that does high damage within a combo, which I can demonstrate within these clips, but it is also a move that in a sense is far more powerful than a Ki Blast cancel, allowing you to immediately autocorrect and give frames of recovery that no other skill in the game possess or has the same traits. Why are you asking, why am I saying this? And why are you making this assertion? Well, look no further, because I am about to provide the footage of why this move, which to me is the move that is the most powerful, but also the one with the most utility. So here in this next clip, I will show you what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. As you can see, when I did a Handy Cannon, it allowed me to take a 180-degree turn sidestep and be able to attack him again very quickly. There is no other move in Xenoverse that has this type of capability in terms of resourcefulness, but also in recovery. It is by far the most powerful skill and more powerful than Soaring Fist, because if you Z-vanish a Soaring Fist, you are stuck in animation and your character cannot move. Handy Cannon does not have the same flaw or weakness as Soaring Fist does, which consider this to be somewhat of a section of its own in terms of how to move to its full effectiveness. The tip is, if you are using Handy Cannon in the combo and you keep using it until somebody's at their last 2 bars of stamina, what you would want to do is transition and use Soaring Fist when they are at 2 bars of stamina and keep using Soaring Fist until they regenerate and get back to their 4 bars of stamina. Then what I said about how to keep using Handy Cannon until they're at their 2 bars, you would just continue the loop until you kill someone. As you can see what I said about this move to its full effectiveness, so that I was able to weight his stamina in a hypothetical situation as if there was a fight. Repeat or just use it the same way I did and you'll be winning far more fights on the Male Saiyan than you ever did before. Now as for the move that perfectly transitions into what I was talking about earlier, which is none other than the infamous Soaring Fist. I would like to think I wouldn't have to explain that much with this move, but just in case some of the viewers watch this video and you guys are newer players, I would be happy to provide an explanation of why this skill in particular is so effective and why it has been dominant in the Xenoverse meta for many years. Now as for why this move is so effective is to get into the basic stuff that this move does. For one, it can string along with any type of race you could think of: Male Saiyan, Male Earthling, Female Majin, and countless others. The move itself is very quick, doing bursts of damage almost instantly, and the move itself, although it is frowned upon, it could loop within itself and you could Y kick into this move over and over consecutively. So this move has infinite combo potential and is effective with almost anyone you could think of that has a knockback. And even though that this move is quick, it also has some downsides to it too. As I mentioned earlier within the other section when I was displaying Handy Cannon and its capabilities, I was saying that Soaring Fist, despite it being a powerful move, also has some underlying weaknesses. So to repeat it again, as if you read very quickly that somebody is gonna XY, you could punish them by Z vanishing very quickly and catch them when they are stuck in animation. Which is why I'm going to show you several techs to prevent that from happening and use Soaring Fist effectively, which I'm going to show you methods of how I use Soaring Fist. The first one being is that I XY and to read someone's evasive of whether or not they are going to Z vanish me, I cancel my XY with the step block. And if you are quick enough, there is a momentary period of time where you could quickly do Soaring Fist again. As you can see, I was able to do a Soaring Fist after my XY, and it was quick enough to where the training bot wasn't able to fall out of my XY Soaring Fist. Use it, as I said, as a tool or method to predict when somebody's going to evasive or Z-vanish, giving you an effective method to Soaring Fist. Now as for the second method, is to simply, after you XY, is to go for an X string to key cancel and to predict when they are going to Z-vanish after you string. So if they have a high amount of stamina and they are above 2 bars, so hypothetically 4 or more bars above, you would go for this maneuver. As you can see, I was able to autocorrect and be able to turn where my opponent is able to predict them. Now to demonstrate when they are at 2 bars, it should look a little something like this. So as you can see, I was able to do a Soaring Fist when I tapped them very quickly with the X string or poke after I XY'd them. You can see the 2 clips side by side one another, showing how it looks for each one and how they successfully work together with one another. These are texts of how I use Soaring Fist effectively and make you be able to win more matches in the future. And now that we're almost done with the video, it's going to get a lot easier to explain. I'm just going to explain the 2 ultimates I use. I'm going to show Justice Combination and how much damage it does with and without my transformation Evo. To me, Justice Combination, if you're going for the best Male Saiyan build and to win matches, is the best ultimate in conjunction with the other one I'm going to use, which is RSB. To me, RSB is what makes this build also effective, because if you are fighting someone else with Evo and you are able to take away their transformation away from them and vice versa, I would recommend using RSB if somebody's at 2 bars of stamina, demonstrated in this clip. Reason why I say this is because if somebody you are fighting is at 2 bars of stamina, they have to force themselves to be really smart and think. Do they want to waste 2 bars of stamina to waste their transformation and possibly get broken as a result of it? Or remove Evo and get speed blitz because the person using Evo, just like them, has a speed advantage as a result of using the transformation. It's all a give or take thing. Seriously consider this when using Evo, or if somebody else is using Evo. Now, as I said, that was going to be very easy, and to go into the finale of the video of why you guys are here, I'm going to explain why Evo is the best transformation in the game with its stats and everything. So without further ado, let's get into it. Evo itself, with its main stats with the buffs and decreases, are this. Evo itself has an auto key drain of negative 18%, a stamina regeneration rate of plus 40%, a decreased damage taken, which is a defensive buff of taking negative 10% damage of taking less damage, a 35% of all attack damage increase, and finally a dash speed of plus 7%. There are far more stats that are there, but it's less important than the stats I want to educate you guys on. I want to focus on the key drain and stamina regeneration part of Evolution Blue. As I said before in the beginning of the video, the Super Soul we are using, our strengths aren't just added together. The stats on the Super Soul is a plus 15% key regeneration and a plus 5% stamina increase. So if we do the math of Evo, as I said, Evo's key regeneration is a decrease of negative 18%, and if we add it with the Super Soul being a key regeneration of plus 15%, it will round up to a staggering negative 2 decrease in key reduction, which is effectively nothing if you are fighting somebody within a fight. And if you are going to be move around, you will get your key back from snap vanishing and using key blast. You will effectively still get your key back if you are fighting without any type of reduction. And as for stamina regeneration and adding it with the Super Soul, Evo, like how I said, has a stamina regeneration of plus 40%, and the Super Soul itself has a plus 5% increase in stamina, rounding out about simply to a staggering plus 45% increase in stamina passively. So in a roundabout way, with Evo and Super Soul added together, you have a negative 2% in key reduction and a plus 45% in stamina recovery, which is completely cracked. if you are standing on the ground, getting your stamina back almost instantly. Now that I'm done explaining the stats for Evo, let's look at the 3 methods of going Evo. But before we go into explaining that, let me explain the timing of how to attempt it. To me, attempting Evo is just a matter of predicting when your opponent is going to punish you by Z-vanishing or instant rise punishing you. So it's a matter of reading and predicting your opponent and understanding what they are going to do intuitively. Now, to waste no time, the one way of attempting Evo is by number 1, XYing, step blocking, and then going into Evo. Now let me demonstrate that on the screen. Now the second method is to XY back hit into Evo. Those were pretty simple, but if you are worried that you are not going to be able to pull off Evo, since it's a transformation that takes a longer duration of time compared to the other transformation in the game, I have one skill that would be considered useful. Consider this a bonus tip in the video. If those other 2 methods don't work, I would recommend using Go-Go Gum. This gives enough time for you to pull off the transformation successfully. Suggestion if you are figuring out which skill to replace for Go-Go Gum, I personally would replace it for Gamma Blaster, but that's just my personal suggestion. But as for the build, that is all that I had to showcase today. Hopefully this was as informational as it was, because it sure did take a lot of time. So if you could like, subscribe, and turn the notification bell so you are notified the next time when I make my next upload. So without further ado, I'm gonna see y'all guys. I'm out.